back, everybody, to the Jeff Fox Show. It's your man, Jeff Fox, right here on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. That will be known as no longer WSME, but now officially known as the Two Live Stews Radio Network. And very, very excited about that. But the hot topic has been the last couple of days, man, this R. Kelly situation that's going on, where folks are questioning the R and the fact that his liking for the young ladies, the young ladies. A lot of us have a problem with it. I have a problem with it. And I wonder how urban radio is going to react to R. Kelly now in light of this stuff coming up again. So I reached out to one of my great friends, man, Lorenzo Ice-T Thomas. He's a 20-year veteran broadcaster, sports talk show host, and program director, and CEO of Live from the MIA.com, the radio station. Make sure you check it out, Live from the MIA.com. Lorenzo, welcome to the Jeff Fox Show, man. What's going on?
Jeff, the check is in the mail. Thank you so much for that great introduction. I was wondering who you were talking about for a second there. So, talking about me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the check is in the mail. Thank you so much. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be a part of your show.
No doubt, man. And congrats on the success of Live from the MIA, man. A lot of folks that listen to my show are looking for radio stations like Live from the MIA, where they can hear real music that we came up on, not too much mumble rap, but actually real hip hop, real R&B, real music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that term, a mumble rap. I don't know who coined the phrase first, but I heard someone say that because, you know, a lot of people call it trap. You know what I mean? But you get trapped in that zone and you just stuck in that trap.
Right.
You know? So the mumble rap, yeah, it's quite interesting. Because, you know, being a native New Yorker and coming up in New York when, you know, hip-hop just started, you know, I'm very much one that is influenced by MCs, masters of ceremonies and people that control all of that stuff and, you know, classic R&B and things of that nature. That's, you know, that's my upbringing and that's what, you know, I'm accustomed to. So, and then as you get older, you know, different forms of music come up, and you know the parents probably felt the same way about hip hop.
They did.
When it first came out. Yeah, they probably felt the same way we did. You know, so when Biz Markie came out with Pick and Boogers back in the day, we thought it was the hot joint.
Right.
You know, and our parents was like, "What is this guy doing?" You know. So anyway, bad comparison, bad analogy there, but you know,
yeah, it is what it is. But you know, we're talking about R. Kelly today, man, and the fact that. I remember when this brother first came out, man, like I thought, you know, one of the more iconic artists that we've come across in a long, long time. You know what I mean? And I think he even won an award from Billboard. He was named the most successful R&B artist of the last 25 years by Billboard in 2011. And he's one of the best-selling R&B artists of recent times. Over 40 million albums sold. So we love R. Kelly's music, but the stories about him and these young ladies, very, very disturbing. And yourself as an urban radio host, as a program director, what do you think urban America's reaction will be? I mean, up to this point, we've seen stuff, we've heard stuff, and the radio still plays R. Kelly. Will this continue in light of recent developments?
Well, first and foremost, let me say that I don't even know where to begin when it starts with this subject.
Mm-hmm.
One, we've all grown up on R. Kelly, and he's a genius, musical genius, and nothing but hits. And it kind of strikes me in such a way as, one, I am now a father who has a daughter.
Yes.
Who is 3. So I'm looking through music through a totally different prism now as I would have 5 years ago.
Right.
Secondly, the only person or the first person that I have shedded a tear over their death was Aaliyah, who was a friend of mine. So, who I knew pretty well, you know.
Her brother. You actually met her because, you know, I loved Aaliyah so much that I have a daughter named Aaliyah, Dana, Well, I named it. I gave her the first name and the second name,
and the middle name. That's something right there. Yeah, and she was truly angelic, a true angel here on earth.
Yeah,
and we're talking about playing R. Kelly on the radio, and 9 times out of 10, most programmers, old school programmers, I'll put it that way, radios definitely catered to the women, and that's just because back in the day, when you had Arbitron Diaries, you figure we're going to cater to the women because women are more detail oriented than men, and women will take the time out to fill out the diary.
Right.
So radio was always female friendly, and I'm kind of cut from that cloth. So even in programming my radio station today, when an R. Kelly song was about to come up, I said, you know what? Let me just pass on that today. Because if I don't want to basically send my listener who is on a musical journey when they're listening to my radio station or any radio station that's programmed properly, you want to take that listener on a journey. Right. Now, with the explosion of this story on social media yesterday, do I want to remind someone of this story when an R. Kelly song comes on my radio station?
Right.
So I just made the choice of not playing it today, and I may do it for a couple of days just to wait to see how this story turns out, And it's just interesting because we say he had a cult, right?
Yeah, but, that's, I've learned, Lorenzo, because you and I are both part of the media. We know how the media works. So,
but let's be real here.
Yeah,
we're going to be real because I don't know if the details of the story and what I guess they will come out. But you do have, and I'm not blaming this on women at all, but you do have people that want to be in this business so bad that they'll do whatever they have to do in order to be a part of the entertainment industry.
Yep.
And if it takes just, being in someone's house or living in someone's house for days and weeks. I'm thinking of a friend of mine that I saw recently who kind of put herself in that same position as maybe some of those women that R. Kelly had living in the house.
Right. Because
she wanted to succeed so badly, she would do whatever it took in order to make it happen. So now as we see as the details, develop, were they held against their will? If it is true, did he try to set up a little cult like the Sister Wives? Did he try to do that? We'll have to see. But he has a sickness that has never been basically taken care of.
Yeah.
So that's the main problem. And if you know his past history and you've heard about his past history, you really have to know what world you're about to step into. And I'm looking at it through the eyes of the prison as a father who has a daughter and how I'm going to basically raise her.
Yeah, because...
where I come from?
Yeah.
So it's like not blaming the women at all for the situation, but you have to look and see.
You know what this reminds me of, Lorenzo? It reminds me of the time when Michael Jackson was accused of messing with kids. And you know how Michael Jackson is basically like I know we shared him with the world, but I felt like as black people, he was our prince. And I mean like our prince, literally like our prince, our shining black superstar that we treasured. And
R. Kelly's not... The people don't look at R. Kelly that way.
No, they look at R. Kelly as a pervert. They look at R. Kelly in a very disgusting way. Well, we used to look at Michael Jackson that way too until the accusations came out about him and the kids, and then you had to look back at the history with Joe Jackson and all of that, and we still supported Michael Jackson because he was this musical genius. Why do you think we're still supporting R. Kelly?
Well, I don't know if we're still supporting R. Kelly totally. Basically, the people would need to stand up. If you want radio stations to really stop playing R. Kelly, then it's up to the audience. If the audience doesn't want to hear it, then therefore they would have to be very vocal. There's a young lady, I didn't have a chance to read the article as of yet, but she just spoke out. It's about time that we just stop giving him a pass.
Right.
For what he's done. He has to be held accountable for his actions. And if he's basically housing these women and holding them against their will, then he needs to, whatever justice needs to be done, has to be done.
Right. Now,
it's not right.
Let me update you. He's not holding them technically against their will. This is very much like a Jim Jones, Guyana type situation. They're following him. He's actually he's in their heads. Like these
right.
women are voluntarily being quote unquote sex slaves or whatever you want to call it to R. Kelly. They love him. They consider themselves his babies or whatever, as he calls them. They call him daddy. They do what he say, and he punishes them if they don't. It's like really, really some Jedi mind BS. You know what I'm saying? And it's weird. And technically, there's nothing legally that the authorities can do because these people are of age. They're not minors. So, right. But the story is out there. We know his past has been well documented. We know about the alleged marriage to Aaliyah, who we just mentioned our love and affection for. Like, does this signal the end possibly for R. Kelly? Because he's still touring. People are still booking him. He's still making tons of money. And we know of this very, very troubling lifestyle that he lives. It's disturbing, man. And
it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. It's really going to come down to is it 8 women that have, I think it's 8?
Yeah, 6 to 8 women, I think.
6 to 8 women. Like, how do they respond to this? If they respond to this as if he was doing something illegal or he was abusive to them, if that's what comes out of it, then it will probably have a negative effect on him and his career.
Well,
if not,
right.
And if it looks like just another episode of the Sister Wives, and they're not held against their will, then they're adults.
Yeah.
But what they have to understand is that just because a superstar tells you that he's going to give you a career or he's going to put you on their next single or all of this, you got to look at how. I don't know the ages of these women, but how are these women basically being lured into this? Look at the ages of these women. Are they influenced by what they see on television as reality TV, and they want to become insta-famous?
Right.
And then this is a person that can do that for them.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's promising that.
From what I gather from TMZ, we're talking to Lorenzo Ice-T Thomas live from the MIAradio.com here on the Jeff Fox Show. TMZ spoke to someone named Joycelyn Savage. She's the 21-year-old whose mother and father and sister, they held a news conference yesterday to accuse R. Kelly of making Jocelyn and other women his sex slaves. But she claims she's exactly where she wants to be. She says she still gets texts from her parents, but explains why she's cut off all communication with them. Still, there was a lot she would not address, but she says she is exactly where she wants to be in this relationship with R. Kelly. And she's denied the accusations and also said that they might take legal action against her own family. Like, it sounds like he is in their heads. Like he's on some Jim Jones psycho, like he's, I don't know, like almost like they hypnotized her or under some kind of spell. And even, granted, there's nothing legally that I think that the authorities can do, Lorenzo. I just think that it's, based on his past, his history, the alleged sex tape, all of the stuff that we know. and the way we as a community, in particular a black community, look at child molesters and people who do these sort of things. I'm looking at R. Kelly with the side-eye, man, and I'm wondering, does he get to continue to do these things that he's doing? It's very, very disturbing. And I don't think I'm ever going to go and support an R. Kelly concert because I just don't think that's a good way. Morally, I think it's wrong.
Yeah, well, morally, it's definitely wrong. He's taking advantage of these women. But I'm going to say this, and probably if we were in the house, we were sitting around the table, we're drinking a couple of beers, this is something that somebody would say.
Right.
And you probably wouldn't say this publicly, and I'm not coming to his defense, but nothing goes down, nothing happens, and I'm going to instill this in my daughter unless the woman wants it to. Now, there are
that is
men
true.
that are very abusive, and rape does exist, but nothing goes down unconsensual. The woman has to say yes.
That's true.
These women can walk away. And R. Kelly's 50 years old. When are you going to grow up? But when we were 21, back in the day, what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
But what was our goal?
To get the draws down.
You know what any man was trying to do.
Right.
That was our goal.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
Just like Tommy from Martin, man. Got the draws down.
So if you can do it, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
If they allow you to do it, that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
He's just 50 years old and he hasn't grown up yet. You know what I mean? And that's the sad part of it. It's like you have to like, look, man, just how much do you have to have? Really?
Right.
That's real talk. And it's sad that he's doing it this way, and he's basically misleading these women to thinking that they're going to have some huge career. And that's what's really unfortunate. But he's doing what he got to do to get what he wants.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the rest of urban radio, especially around the country, in light of these events, it's definitely trending on social media, and then a lot of people commenting on it. And I'll be curious to see.
It's not right, not right at all what he's doing.
But it's not illegal. It's not illegal. They're not underage. If they were underage, I get it, but they're not underage. And like you said, they could say no.
He's trying to fall. He's got the sister wives, man. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely that, man. Definitely that. We're talking to Lorenzo Ice-T Thomas here on the Jeff Fox Show. The other
keeping
big
it 100.
Keeping it 100. Yes, sir.
That's 100.
For real. The other big thing,
but
man.
I'm not playing any R. Kelly on my. Let me go check the radio. I'm not playing any R. Kelly today because I don't want to chase away the female audience.
Right.
There are women out here that are appalled by what he is doing.
They are.
And I'm really appalled by it as well. But I'm looking at it like, well, okay, like these women wake up.
Right.
If they're able to leave on their own, someone needs to get to them like, look, this is not the way you need to make it. Well, and then look at how many women you got to go back over the last 20 years has R. Kelly really put on and become a star. I mean, he had that situation with Sparkle back in the day.
Right. He
did something with Changing Faces, kind of put them on. And then I'm just drawing a blank right here. We all know what happened with Aaliyah. So, really, what female artist has he really put on?
Yeah. I mean, he's a typical dude. He's doing what he's using what he has to use to get what he wants.
He's written some songs for some people and so on and so forth, but that's great. But there's an artist that basically gives him his K. Michelle.
Right.
Gives him props. K. Michelle definitely gives him props. But that's kind of behind the scenes. You don't really see that, what he's done for her.
Right.
So she speaks on it. You know, I'd like to really definitely get her opinion, see what she would say about something like that. But, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
You take advantage of these women.
Absolutely. Speaking of taking advantage, man, I think, and we're going to take a sharp left right here because, as I mentioned at the intro, we also talk a lot of sports with each other here on the Jeff Fox Show. As a matter of fact, we've had you come in the past and work with the Sports Brothers doing some radio. So what do you think about this whole reasoning why your boy Colin Kaepernick not in the NFL, when clearly I think he's more than qualified? It's all because he took a knee, and various people, even some of us, have come out against him and really basically trying to check him like Mike Vick did yesterday, saying that Colin Kaepernick here, his appearance, and I see nothing wrong with an afro, bro, but his appearance is one of the reasons he's not in the NFL. Like, the first thing Kaepernick needed to do to get back into the league's good graces was to get a haircut. That's what Michael Vick
I think
apparently said.
Vick is just coming from a place where he went through his own trials and tribulations.
Yes, he did.
And if I remember correctly, he used to wear cornrows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So probably at that time when Mike was going through his trials and tribulations, someone told him that he needed to basically cut his hair, you know, because the cornrows simulated just him being pro-black.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the place where Michael Vick is coming from, and that he said, look, if Colin wants to change his image, that's something that he should do. I totally disagree with that. Him having to cut his hair is the reason why. Him wearing an afro is the reason why people are not giving him a job.
Right.
So let's just get that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Basically, I will tell you this. I will never forget when San Francisco came to Hard Rock Stadium last year. Now, I'm the diehard Miami Dolphins fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I will criticize the fans in the stands because most of the time they're fans that are coming from all different walks of life and may not really understand the game as well as they should. Like when the offense, the Miami Dolphins, have the ball, you do not cheer.
Right, be quiet.
Okay? Just little things like that. You know, I mean, it's the Miami sports fan. Sometimes you'll be at the Miami Heat game and you'll see something happen on the court. They'll start cheering and be like, didn't you see the foul?
Right.
About that, the shot doesn't count. So some of them are still learning the game.
Right.
But when the San Francisco 49ers offense took the field for the first time, when San Francisco came down to play the Miami Dolphins, I have never heard a crowd in unison boo as loud as they did when Colin Kaepernick took that field.
Yep.
They did it in unison. And it just gives you an inside look about how people feel about him taking a stand or taking a knee for the national anthem. Now, Colin Kaepernick may not have articulated himself as well as President Obama would have articulated himself about the stand. And he may have needed to learn a little bit more about his history and his culture so he could articulate those thoughts a little bit more. And earlier this year, he took a trip, I think it was this year, where he's raising money for his foundation. He took a trip to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So he could learn more about his past. So now he can articulate it more. And I don't even think so at the time when he took the knee that he was aware of the fact that he just felt as if he needed to do something, and that was his action. But I actually, in the stands, shared the fact that he's taking this knee during the national anthem, but a lot of people don't even know that the third verse of the national anthem was cut out because it talked about slavery and the blood of slaves. So,
yeah, I had to learn about that recently myself.
Yeah. And people were not. It was written by a racist. And didn't get passed to be the national song until that third verse was taken out of
Yeah.
Totally, if they knew that. But they
and he drew attention to it. You're right. He drew attention to it.
But he actually didn't draw attention to that because I don't think that was the narrative.
No, it wasn't.
He just felt right. He felt he needed to take a stand for something. So that's why I prefaced it that he probably didn't articulate it. He just felt as if he needed to do something.
Well, Lorenzo, we can rattle off the names. Philando Castile, most recently. Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray. I mean, the list goes on. Trayvon Martin. The names go on and on and on. And all Colin Kaepernick wanted to do, and as he said it, was to draw attention to the fact that black people were being basically murdered at the hands of law enforcement, and nobody was being held accountable. And as an African-American man, he felt it was wrong, and he wanted to draw attention to it. That was it. And this is a man who's been to the Super Bowl, who's been to an NFC Championship game, who's still only, 29 years old, and they're coming up with various reasons as to why he's not signed in the NFL, including his ability, his work ethic, his intelligence, his desire to be a full-time activist, his eating habits, his salary demands to start. They're just making up stuff. So Vic's comments is the latest to be piled on all of this crap that is designed to systematically keep Colin Kaepernick out of the National Football League based on his stance. And this isn't somebody that was arrested for domestic violence or hurt anybody or killed anybody. I think it's wrong, and I'm hoping that somebody gives him a chance, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, and that game against the Miami Dolphins, he had a great game. If anyone
I remember.
needs to look at, he had a great game. And if anyone wants to see his abilities,
pull up that tape.
You put on that tape, basically. And you mean to tell me there are 32 quarterbacks in the NFL right now? Or better yet, you could say 64 quarterbacks in the NFL that's better than him?
Yeah.
No.
Garbage.
No.
Garbage.
They just don't. They don't want to deal with the politics that comes with having him on the team.
Yep.
And I think what happens is 5 to 10 years from now, when we look back at the stand that he has taken and the man that he becomes because of that, not saying that he's going to be admired on the same level, but it's similar to the stand that Muhammad Ali took.
I always talk about
basically,
it. Yep.
To a certain extent, he's taken a stand for what he believes in, and I support him for that. I do that with my radio career. I don't like the direction that today's 1834 music, or the fact that urban music in general has to be divided up. Why does it have to be divided up?
Right.
And my stand is it does not have to be divided if you present it in the right way, because we like all genres of music. We do. So, but there are people that are in control of it that choose to run it the way they want to. So I'm taking my stand, and to a certain extent, because I took a stand against what was being done and stood for my beliefs, I'm in the situation that I am now, which now I'm starting my own radio station.
Right.
So when you take a stand on something, you have to, you're going to get some backlash. You're going to look at people are going to look at you as a rebel, and whether or not, you're going to be a team player and so on and so forth. But I'm not a yes man, and Colin Kaepernick is not a yes man. And I don't feel he needs to cut his hair. He's not walking into corporate America trying to get a job and work a 9 to 5, put a suit and tie on. And even if that was the case, if he wants to wear an afro, he should be able to wear an afro.
Exactly. He's Lorenzo Thomas, man, live from the MIA.com. Make sure you check out that radio station if you want to hear some real music. Follow him on Twitter at Lorenzo Thomas. Lorenzo, I know you're doing some other stuff as well, some reporting on television. Let folks know where they can find you real quick, man.
Yes, basically, I'm working as a Miami correspondent reporter for Celebrity Page TV. Celebrity Page TV is a nationally syndicated television show that comes on 98% of the markets in the country. It's on in New York, LA, ATL, DC, and it comes on basically in Miami 3 times a day, the show Celebrity Page TV. And when I say 3 times a day, it comes on The Real twice a day, and it comes on My 33 Monday through Friday. at midnight.
Okay.
So I'm a correspondent reporter, covered the American Black Film Festival, DJ Iries weekend with Kevin Hart, and then this past weekend, the Overtown Music and Arts Festival with CeeLo Green, Monica, Kishiko, R.L. of Next, and many others. So, and Tito Puentes,
yes, sir,
was in the building. So, that's what I'm doing now. So I'm really enjoying that and expanding my resume and getting into more of this television stuff.
Well, you definitely have our support on this radio network and on the Jeff Fox Show, man. We appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you some more on some trending topics as well as during your Miami Dolphins football season. I like your coach, man. We'll see where it goes.
I can't wait. I actually went to a meeting yesterday that they had at at Hard Rock Stadium where the wide receiver coach, I can't remember his name, but was showing some X and O's and going over videos. It was really great. It was great. They had that at Hard Rock Stadium last night for the fans.
Almost time, baby. It's almost time.
All right. Shout out to Papa Pump.